back to navigation and business goals. Why did Facebook change their navigation? Well, the reason is because it was tied to a business goal. Facebook gets, it's not the sponsored content and having people like things and click on things. That's definitely part of the goal. But you don't get there if you can't navigate to some of these pages, like between your profile page or your profile page, friends pages, feed, things like that. And so the navigation that we've seen that a lot of people have adopted is this that they call it the hamburger button. Who doesn't know what the hamburger button is? Hamburger button is those 3 lines in the top left that we see most visibly here in Aftonbladet's app in the center. It's also here on the left in the iPad app. And then there's one that's kind of similar, effectively the same thing, right? It's a grid button that's in the top left over here. And it gets us to our navigation, right? It hides it and gives us just the content. Well, if a business goal is tied to users navigating and users actually getting to other parts of your site, when you hide that navigation, guess what you just did? Guess what you just did really effectively? You hit it. You made it a little bit harder. So what Facebook has done to get this goal across even better, and what they've learned over time, because they have that research at design time, at build time, is understand that there are not so many places that users want to navigate that they originally thought. And when you hide things, like in this grid here first, there's multiple pages here, and then when you hide them, people don't use them so well. So we're going to use a list, the list view and the hamburger button, and you can see the hamburger button up there in the top. It's been opened and exposed the navigation right here. And in here we have a nice long list that's very scalable. Users are really good at scanning down a list of things and reading off stuff, because we read left to right and we start on the left so we can just scan right down and figure out what we want. And so this did better than the grid, but it was still hiding the navigation, and their business goal was tied to that. User goals were also tied to that, which was getting to see what my friends were up to. So they adopted finally now what we have is the toolbar navigation, and the toolbar navigation exposes those pieces that users value the most. In here we have our list of friend requests, messages, notifications, and our news feed right there. And then behind more, we have all that other stuff that used to live in the panel nav. So we didn't get rid of anything. We didn't piss anyone off by totally changing things around. And when we did change things, we used a design pattern that they were familiar with, which is this Apple toolbar at the bottom right here. So being able to navigate was part of their business goal and also part of a user goal here. And so that's when navigation really matters. So when I hear from a news agency or media property, like, should we use the hamburger button? Should we do that? I ask them, is it part of your business's goal that users navigate around between pages? And if it is, then make that navigation a little bit more simple and maybe expose some of that stuff. And so you'll have recirculation modules. But even more importantly, I've seen some properties like BuzzFeed, and actually in the future here, I'm working on things to hopefully make this more of a pattern myself, which is to have content inside that navigation. When I go in BuzzFeed and I click on a menu drop-down or something like that, I don't see sections. I don't see the places that I can go. I see more articles. I see more things that I actually care about that I'm there for. That's why I went to BuzzFeed. I want to see a list about things I used to do when I was a kid.